it's working. Yay. Okay. Here are all my lovely people. Yay. Okay, hi. So I'm here today to talk about language deprivation in children with hearing loss, be that deaf children or hard of hearing children, really any form of hearing loss, which is very, very widespread because a lot of parents who have children with hearing loss do not learn sign language. And so the point of this speech is to encourage anybody who has children in their family with hearing loss to learn sign language. American Sign Language is a full and complete language. A lot of people have the misconception of thinking it's a system of gestures, but that's not true. It is a full and complete language as any spoken language, and it develops naturally as such. And it's also fully visually accessible, which is why it is such a great option for anybody with hearing loss. Sadly, according to Michelle Strickland, who is a deaf studies instructor at Front Range Community College, only 20% of hearing parents of deaf children learn sign language, which, as you can imagine, leads to a lot of language deprivation. And sign language really any form of language doesn't only allow communication and expression of thoughts and emotions. It also creates neural pathways in the brain which set children up to be able to think and reason, read, write, and lots of other things. According to the National Association of the Deaf, for deaf children who do not have access to sign language, this can lead to total language deprivation, and often does, meaning they not only do not have sign language, but they also are not able to learn how to speak or read or write, which means growing up in a world with no language. And in my time as a sign language interpreting intern, I have met 2 different students who had complete language deprivation up until middle or high school. And I have seen personally that their signing skills are lower than their peers who grew up with sign language, but also their reading and writing skills are lower, which is evidence of the previously mentioned neural pathways in the brain. So, of course, the solution to this problem of language deprivation is simple but challenging for a lot of people, and that is for family members to learn sign language. According to one friend of mine, Piers McCarthy, who is deaf himself, he said that my mother taught me to read using American Sign Language, and if my mother didn't use American Sign Language, I wouldn't know how to read. Now, a lot of people are daunted by the idea of learning sign language, and as with learning any language, it is a challenge, but the results are completely worth it. Some people wonder how you teach a child to use sign language, and the answer to that is very, very simple. As with any language, you expose the child to a language, and they will learn the language. And according to Kimberly A. Weaver, the stronger a deaf child's parent's skills in American Sign Language, or any sign language, the better the child's outcome in their academic, career, and social life. So as we can see, linguistic exposure really does have a positive impact on all aspects of a child's life. So if you imagine for a moment a world where no children deal with language deprivation and all children are able to express their feelings and their thoughts, their emotions, but also are able to understand important concepts like morality and responsibility, things that we often take for granted as hearing people because these things just naturally happen to us because we overhear them. It's really wonderful to imagine a world where that can be true for all children, even children with hearing loss. But on the other hand, the sad fact is that for many thousands of children around the world who don't have access to sign language, they're not able to communicate their thoughts and feelings. They're not able to learn basic cultural concepts, and the only communication that they have is limited to gestures and facial expressions and body language, which is very sad. So Really, the only action to be taken to solve this problem is if you or somebody in your family or friend group has a deaf child, whether that be, your own child or a niece or nephew or a sibling, learn to sign with them. It can be, you can start off with the basics and grow from there, and it might be challenging at first, but the results will really be worth it. Because today, it's 2018, and we've had a lot of growth and we have a lot of progressivism. However, we still see language deprivation as a really prevalent issue in the world. And in order for children to learn to read and write and communicate and think clearly, they need access to a fully visual language if they have hearing loss. So, yay sign language. Thank you very much for your time. I'm going to show you that again.
We didn't escape halfway through.
I was going to say, we didn't run away.
Yeah.